guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Jessica Flynn and I'm the owner and maker of Flynn Sisters Boutique. And today I'm going to take you through this really fun rainbow swirl tumbler design. I originally learned this from Carissa Robinette. Here's us doing it together in Las Vegas at an event. And I just think it's so fun and easy to do. I'm going to be putting my own spin on it though with this design, and all the products that you see in this video will be listed and linked down below in the description box. You might even find some discount codes for you there as well. And that's enough chit chat for me. Let's go ahead and get started. All right, you guys, so today I'm working with a true 32 ounce tumbler from the Tipsy Magnolia. And to start, I'm going to prep just by sanding all of the areas that we're going to be painting and epoxying today. I've got an 80 grit sanding block and I'm just going to lightly sand the surface until it's all scuffed up. Once I'm done with that, we're going to clean it up with some rubbing alcohol and paper towel. And now I'm ready to tape off the bottom. If you don't want to tape off the bottom of your tumbler, you can skip this step. If you want more information as to why I would choose to tape off my tumbler, I will include a video down below in the description box that you might find helpful. After I run a line of electrical tape around the bottom rim, I'm going to run it through my edge trimmer at the lowest rung to get a very nice clean line on my tape that's super thin. I'll show you how I finish this towards the end of the video. Once my tumbler is fully prepped, I'm ready to start with my base paint. For this one, we want to have a nice, even, flat white base color because the white paint will show through in the glitter that we apply next. Once my tumbler is dry to the touch, I'm ready to apply my first coat of epoxy and glitter. I've mixed just enough glitter into this 30 milliliters of epoxy to where I have a good saturation for enough sparkle, but not so much that it comes out patchy or changes the consistency of the epoxy. I added 2 different glitters to this to get the ultimate sparkle, and I will list and link them down below in the description box. Once my glitter is fully mixed in, I'm going to apply my glitter and epoxy mixture to my cup like I normally would. You may need more or less epoxy based on the size of tumbler that you're working with. This is a 32 ounce tumbler, so I've mixed 30 milliliters for this technique. In hindsight, I wish I would have mixed just a little more because again, we're trying to get a good balance to where we get a good saturation of sparkle from our glitter with good coverage without it looking patchy or streaky. Once I've got this evenly applied to the cup, I'm just going to hit it with my propane torch to pop any remaining bubbles and then remove my tape. This is a fast cure epoxy that I'm working with for this one, so I'm going to let this dry for a good 4 hours before we move on to the next step. Remember that your dry time may vary based on the brand and type of epoxy that you're using. Once that first layer is dry, we're ready to move on to the next step. I've already mixed 30 milliliters of my Flynn Sisters Artist Cure epoxy. It's important to use just a regular drying epoxy for this step because we want to have some extra work time so we can manipulate our colorants. I've mixed 30 milliliters, but I'm only going to apply maybe 15 to 20 to my tumbler, just enough to fully coat it, but not too much. With the remaining amount of epoxy, I'm going to mix in a pea-sized amount of white epoxy dye. I'm using Alumilite's white epoxy dye, and I will have it linked down below in the description box. Before I add any colorants, I just want to hit that clear coat of epoxy that we just applied with my propane torch to pop any remaining bubbles. I'm not going to really apply any more heat after this point, so it's important that we do that on this step. With the white epoxy that we just mixed, I'm going to apply it in a swirl-like pattern onto my tumbler using a gloved finger. I like the control that I have when I apply it this way, and I want to apply it at a pretty steep angle for my swirl so that the top of the swirl and the bottom of the swirl are both visible from one angle of the tumbler. Once I have this applied, I'm going to just sort of spread it out and manipulate it to around the size that I want my rainbow swirl to be for the cup. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to get 6 different medicine cups and I'm going to pour just a few drops of the alcohol inks that we're going to be using for our rainbow. I will list the colors that I'm using down below in the description box and link the shop where you can get them from. Using a silicone brush tool, I'm going to go color by color and traipse it in just little by little by picking some color up from my medicine cup with a silicone brush and just kind of drizzling that through color by color on our swirl. Remember for this step that less is more. The more ink that we add through these lines of color, the more they're going to bloom in the epoxy and spread out. And these colors could quickly overtake our whole tumbler. So just add little by little and know that we can always add more, but we can't take away. Between each color, I'm sure to wipe off my silicone brush tool on some paper towels, and if I need to, I have some rubbing alcohol to completely clean it off so that I don't contaminate between each color. Once I got all my colors applied to the swirl, I went over the entire swirl with my heat gun, just barely tapping along with the heat and the air. I don't want to get too much movement, but just enough to where those colors really start dancing together in that rainbow. From here is where I started to really have fun. I took my silicone brush tool and kind of manipulated the colors to look like they were splashing outside of the swirl. I wanted to emulate that kind of design look that is seen in the butterfly UV that we're going to be adding later. This is also where we can add more color. If we need to, we can kind of scoop some stuff out and take away. But just be very careful because like I said earlier, less is more with this. All of these colors are going to spread out as the epoxy starts to dry, and you don't want everything to take over. I did wipe off the excess epoxy from below my tape line because I forgot to tape it before we started, but that's okay. After this was fully dry, I am going to go around the top rim with my 80 grit sanding block with an 80 grit sanding paper over it because that's all I've got right now. And we're just going to sand this down to expose a fine line of stainless steel around that very top rim. This fine line of stainless steel is where our final coats of epoxy will adhere to create the final seal for our tumbler on the outer rim rather than the very top rim where it's more vulnerable. I'm going to clean all that debris away with some rubbing alcohol and paper towel. And now we're ready to apply our UV You can find this whole element sheet at FlynnSistersSupplyShop.com. I'm going to cut out the focal element, which is this really wonderful quote, and we're going to apply that just like we would kind of with the hinge method, but not really. I'm going to tape it down with some masking tape so I can measure and make sure this is exactly where I want it. And then we'll peel back the plastic carrier sheet from the back of the decal, press it down firmly, and then remove the sticky carrier sheet from the top. We're going to apply the butterflies in the same way, and I wanted these to look like they were a part of the swirl or kind of coming out of that rainbow. So much fun. There's all these different sizes that I put throughout. And once I was done applying my UV I just signed the back with an acrylic marker. And now we're ready to apply our final coats of epoxy. I'm going to be using our Artist Cure formula for my final coats, so this stays bright and white for a very long time. This cup actually took 2 final coats before it was perfectly smooth. What's new? But I love how it turned out. This is such a fun and easy design. I feel like you can adapt this technique to a bunch of different colorways, and maybe you can add in some of the feather UV that I have. I don't know. It's just so much fun. Let me know what you guys thought about this one in the comments. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. I'm uploading new videos every week. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you again soon. If you love that last video, you can check out the next one here, and be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok for more great content. You can shop our products at FlynnSistersSupplyShop.com and subscribe to our channel for new videos every week. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you again soon.